Hello and welcome to another episode of the Margin Max Minute. I'm 𝗠𝗿𝗶𝗂𝗀𝗃, the Fit Professional One, and as always, I'm glad you've joined me today. I want to take a minute again to thank my editor-in-chief, 𝗣𝗂𝗹 for doing an excellent job on these recordings and pulling in the visuals. It's always good to take a look at these on YouTube because you can see the charts and graphs, and today is no exception. I thank you again for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about remote work. I came across a recent Harvard Business Review article on remote work, which cited a study by quite a large number of CEOs regarding remote work. And the specific question that was asked was, what percentage of your workforce do you see between now and 5 years from now working at home? So what's interesting is they started the statistics in 2018, where about 92% of workers actually worked in a building, essentially at work. By 2023, that number had reached about 76%. And what's interesting is the CEOs only project that to be about 73% by 2028, 5 years from now. And when you think about that, over a 5-year term, that's just not that big of a portion of the workforce. So what's interesting today, and the question for you to ponder, is the phenomena of remote work slowing and even leveling off in a place where it's going to stay? What's interesting is there is a big push by a lot of CEOs, we've seen it in the news, where they want to get their workforce back to work. Top reasons brought up are, number one, people get more done at work. Number two, overall cultures just thrive a little bit better when people are in the same building face to face and working together, if you will, elbow to elbow. In fact, there's a study out there that shows the drop in productivity on average is 10% across all populations. What's interesting about that number is it's a bell curve, in other words, a normal distribution. So what we have to keep in mind, there are still plenty of individuals that will just absolutely thrive in a remote work environment. Those, of course, we can get the benefits of productivity by having those particular employees more engaged and focused on their work by granting either a work from home or some kind of a hybrid arrangement. What's interesting as we look forward on the same CEO survey is about 2/3 of the CEOs see the growth coming in a hybrid approach. And that's interesting and it makes sense to me because of the aforementioned benefits to working together. Additionally, in this Harvard Business Review article, the author, Mr. Bloom, speculated regarding why this slight bump up in 5 years of either hybrid or remote work might be happening. One of the reasons he brought up was the simple advent of technology. Certainly, most workstations for non-assembly line or direct workers or construction worker type workstations now include software that enhances working from remote, doing Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams, etc. Another reason cited is that startups save a lot of money by not having to have office spaces. So to execute a startup in one's home saves a lot of money and helps the whole financial picture of the startup. Another interesting idea that they speculated with would be the fact that the United States of America is well managed. Our culture supports the whole idea of autonomy in managing our own calendars, which is essentially being free, having freedom to run your day how you want. And in the United States, many houses are of the size that they can accommodate another room that can serve as a space to launch that startup in or work from home. And lastly, there are just a plethora of employee turnover stats. Go ahead and Google those yourself. You might be kind of surprised. What's interesting, though, if you really do a deep dive, you'll see some softening of the turnover. In particular, government jobs, construction jobs, warehousing jobs, durable goods jobs, and manufacturing tend to be settling down in terms of turnover. Still very, very high would be hospitality and food services. Those remain very high turnover on an annual basis. What's interesting is a poll cited about people that work from home, either in a hybrid or work from home relationship with their employer, view that freedom to work from home about the same as an 8% raise. I find that very interesting. In fact, I expected that number to be quite higher. Again, that is an average, and we have to assume a normal distribution so that certainly there are individuals that value that work from home experience substantially more than others. I reacted a little bit differently to this Harvard Business Review article. In fact, I disagree with the premise of the article. There is an absolute trend of flattening in terms of hybrid and stay-at-home work based on the survey. Additionally, when we look at the turnover rates, there are a lot of durable good industries in various industries where the turnover rates are not only flattening, but many are dropping. What's interesting is I think focusing on just the perk of stay-at-home work misses a big part of what's going on. One of the key issues that the authors cited were the fact that American companies on average are better managed than companies abroad. I don't know that to be true. I don't have any firsthand evidence, but it is supported in several studies. Let's assume that if we're going to take a look at trying to reduce employee turnover, have a more motivated workforce, I would say at best I'd suggest to consider a hybrid approach and figure out how you can convey that to particular employees that you are confident are really going to make significant strides in their productivity by having that opportunity. Certainly, we want to take steps to reduce employee turnover. However, I think the root cause of such issues goes far beyond remote work. So the tip today really is don't think that offering a hybrid arrangement or remote work is some kind of magic bullet to help your employee turnover drop and to increase your employee retention. I think employers really have to focus on good management fundamentals, making sure that they understand where they are with each individual regarding training, that employee's competencies and capability to take on such a role. I also believe that there is a tendency that hasn't really been studied much for companies that are really embracing either hybrid work or stay-at-home models where they can lose at least a portion of the ability of their company to pursue innovation or pursue excellence. I would say that there is some downsides to stay-at-home work or hybrid models that companies lose that haven't really been quantified yet. One would be the ability to innovate. Certainly when employees are finished with their basic tasks and they have some time left over, which they can make discretionary decisions regarding how to invest that time. If they're at work with 10 or 15 minutes, even a half hour to go at the day, I believe they're going to be more apt to take some time to look at a procedure, discuss an improvement with a peer, or make some kind of effort to improve the business and or their role at the business because they're at work. Again, there are exceptions to all of these things. You certainly can get employees that do a great job doing exactly what I just went through in a hybrid or work from home role, but they would absolutely be the exception. And lastly, although there are many more things to discuss, the item I want to mention today is the difficulty in keeping employees aligned towards your mission and purpose. The more dispersed employees are, the bigger job that becomes. It doesn't mean it can't be done. Just make sure you're preparing yourself for that challenge if you embrace some of these alternative models. I, for one, as a small business employer, am relieved to see these trends softening and employees taking a more active role in a workplace where they can interact with their employees and actually starting to stay in jobs longer. So with that, I hope this has helped you out, and I wish you the very best week. It's time for me to get to work.